right, welcome to episode 6 of Rise in Red, the SCU Hockey Podcast, presented by Scott's Hockey Shop and Chaffee's Meat Market and Deli. Nick Torn alongside head coach Mark Coletta and producer Jake. It's been a while, but we're here. We've remembered. It's always been a plan. I mean, I was out of the loop, and then Mark was just like, hey, here we are talking about the end of the season for SCU Hockey, and of course, our dump and change segment. Mark, how are you doing?
Good. It's been a while. Kind of, a couple things kind of took precedent after that last weekend of the season, and fly by is pretty quick, and all of a sudden you're in early May. So yeah, let's get at it. I'm excited.
Anything you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean things have progressed well over the last little bit. I think the year itself was good, and obviously we're in baseball season now, so I'm wearing my Mets hat, but Stanley Cup Playoffs on, I'm sure we'll talk about that, and exciting times here. But for SFU hockey and where we're looking to go, some important things coming up, scheduling announcements, recruiting announcements, a couple home dates with NCAA Division I opponents, I think. And yeah, that's a lot of good news for us.
Look at us getting the insider info here. But yes, let's get into it. The final games of the 23-24 season came against Minot State, number 1 team in ACHA. This was back in February. It's been a while. So a 5-2 loss on February 16th and a 3-2 overtime loss on February 17th. What do you remember from those games, and how did you feel after it?
Yeah, kind of mixed emotions, especially for guys who've been with us for a couple of years and winning 2 championships, going on to graduate, knowing that was their last SFU hockey games and competition. And you got to remember, we didn't play any games after the BC Providence trip, so they were off for a solid 5 weeks. And so you're trying to keep them motivated, try to keep them in shape and what have you. And then you show up at Minot, and a cool little facility. They're actually very good. And they're prepping for nationals. So they're in full season playoff mode, and we've taken 5 weeks off, and our guys are thinking about, spring break, and it is what it is. So that Friday night was obviously tough, and to try to get back up to speed. The Saturday night, I thought we played better. We actually had the lead, and gave up a couple goals, and then fought our way to go to overtime. So definitely different style of play, very physical, demanding, meat and potatoes hockey, but cool facility. Wyatt does a good job over there, and it's a pretty good hockey team. A lot of MJ junior A guys, and again, very, very meat and potatoes hockey and solid, tough hockey, which that's the style, and they got my hats off to them and how they play.
Yeah, so talk about a bit Minot, North Dakota. Obviously, North Dakota is a pretty hockey praised state. It's kind of a hockey bed in America, at least. What's Minot like? I mean, they got a good program over there. What's the feeling in the city like?
I think they're the big ticket in town. There's a junior team there that's really well respected as well. So the hockey community there is pretty good. They do a good job. They support the team really well. The facilities, a real cool little mini stadium. It's definitely got that college vibe. Minot's cold and let's just say very flat area. Driving through Winnipeg and then down through the border into Dakota there, it's definitely an experience if you've never been. Couple border crossings we were on our way to that were closed and not 24 hours, so that's a little bit different. We ended up at one that was shut down at 3-4 in the afternoon, so a little bit of a detour on the way down. But yeah, it's definitely an experience, and our guys, like I said, after 5 weeks off, maybe not the best idea, but getting games on our schedule was always the tough challenge with this hybrid travel year, and we made the best of it. And it was good to see the guys play one last time. And like I said, after that last game, the seniors and guys who weren't coming back, it's kind of a shitty feeling. And again, they had a great run with us, and they're the reason why we're where we are right now. So that group of guys for the last 2 years, 3 years has been instrumental in what we're doing.
I'll go off pace here because I was going to ask you about this later, but since you're talking about it, let's ask it now. That was a lot of players. Like, I didn't realize until you guys started posting on Instagram just how many players were leaving this non-conference team. Like, it was like 7 or 8, I think.
Yeah, a good chunk. Obviously, some guys who've really paved the way, and guys who've been with us for a while. And it's going to be hard to replace. Those guys are not easy to replace, especially when they've won 2 championships. And there is something about winning that you can't teach. Doesn't matter what you do, you have to go through it. And you can win whatever hockey games you want when you're a kid at 10 and 11 years old. That doesn't mean anything. But when you get to a certain age, coming into junior and out of junior, and you're in a winning environment, those things matter. Even us at Plattsburgh, the years I was there, and of course, I'm, by no means is, I'm trying to tell tall tales here, but Bobby Emery and Hooley created a winning culture because of the people they brought in and the standard they set. And it was no coincidence that our 4-year run there, we were in 3 Final Fours and a national title. And so coincidence that the group that SFU is just losing, went undefeated 1 year, lost 1 game the following year, and won 2 championships. And again, it doesn't matter what league it is. They did that, and my hat's off to them. And we're losing a lot of good guys.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But did you start to feel a bit of some budding rivalries playing in these NCAA teams? This kind of scrappy little Canadian team coming around North America and just contending, really?
Yeah, we felt it a bunch of years ago when we went to Arizona State, and they were just jumping into D1 after a year or two, and they had come up here a couple years before that, and there was that attitude about them that had changed, which right, wrong, or indifferent doesn't really matter. But Powers obviously knew he was at a D1 level now, and you can sense that they weren't the same Arizona State team that was here a couple years before that as a club. Right. And it kind of created a little bit of a buzz right away, especially in that second game. I remember Piatelli throwing a big hit, and things got heated. With the NCAA teams, maybe the Alaskas because we played them more, but we didn't play them this year, and we'll hopefully play them next year. So that could be something. The Robert Morris game, the Lindenwood game, the LIU game. Some of those games are a little more heated because the talent level's similar. Yeah. But even the fact that maybe Michigan gave us a little bit of a beating, but that was early in the year. The BU stuff and the BC and the Providence stuff was heated. The guys are competitive, so the fact that we're this Canadian team trying to do what we're doing, there's chirps on the ice, and there might be some animosity there, and guys chirping each other back and forth. Oh, you're just a club team, beat it kind of thing. And our guys should play with a chip on their shoulder, and they should want to win. That's the name of the game.
You mentioned the Michigan game, and that was about the only game that you really got blown out by definition. It was an 8-1 loss. Yeah. That was kind of first NCAA game of the year, but the rest of the way you were close. I mean, 1-1 against Boston University. I don't care which players are playing in Boston. That's something. And this was a real learning curve for a lot of these players. And just as you mentioned earlier, right off the top, lots of chances for more games against higher opponents, and you played nothing but the highest opponents. I mean, I think 3 of the Final Four.
It's steep. It's steep when you're figuring out, again, like the analogy, you're in the deep end, right? There's no water wings here. There's no life jacket. You're not in the kiddie pool. You're in the deep end of the pool, and you got to fight and do things a little differently. Again, learning how to travel, learning how to get on the road and play games in a hostile environment or just a shitty environment. I mean, sometimes the hotel isn't great, or you're traveling in crazy conditions. And then you're punching above your weight class. So it's our job now to figure that out, take what we learned this year, steal some stuff from other coaches, and bring on some maybe new staff, and work with Jimmy to make sure our guys are better. And off ice training is going to be key, and we've got the wheels in motion for that. Everything matters when you're a D1 program. I chatted with a couple of recruits recently that are looking to maybe transfer out of a D1 program somewhere else. So,
Wow.
Getting stuff and info from them, and knowing that we're not that far off. Some of the stuff they would tell me or telling me now about where they were at, I just shake my head and say, well, we're right there with everything. So it's going to be a good test this summer. And I think we're going to be in a better position next year to be talking on this podcast about winning games.
Yeah, I mean, we got some time. Let's look ahead into next season, and what the feeling's like. Like, we already talked about how many players you're losing. You said you got some good recruitments coming through.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to next year to getting this team running on and right at the beginning?
Well, I think the recruiting's key. It's been exciting. It's been fun. We got a lot of interest from a lot of players. Like I said, there's a bunch of kids in the portal and agents and advisors that are calling me, asking me if there's a spot for their kids to come here, where 3-4 years ago, nobody's calling us for kids to come play at SFU 4 or 5 years ago. Now they're reaching out because they saw the schedule, they see what we're doing. And again, if the schedule is somewhat close, which I know it is, and better, the competition at the end of the day is what these kids want, what these advisors want their kids and their clients to be playing at. So whether we're a varsity team, D1 status or not, that's a discussion for another day. And hopefully those discussions will happen soon. But the fact is, if I can put together a 20-plus game schedule against D1 competition, who gives a shit where you're at if you're a 20-year-old kid trying to get those games in so you can show how good you are. And we'll do a better job with the elite prospects webpage and stats and all that stuff to make sure we get all those things dialed in so people feel even more comfortable sending their kids here. And again, I think the recruiting part's been great. We've got a lot of buzz. The schedule, there's some teasers out there right now, and we're gonna hopefully make official announcements here within the next week. I know some of the schools I'm chatting with are putting their stuff out, so it won't be a secret anytime soon. It won't be a secret anytime that much longer. So we're gonna have to make some announcements here soon.
Very exciting, not just for me, but I think for everyone else. It should be a fun year of SFU hockey coming up. I'm really excited about that.
You bet.
I'm excited, Mark. But that's it, I guess, for SFU hockey turns. But let's go into our dump and change segment.
All right.
Very famous dump and change section. Everybody loves this segment, and I think it could get a little heated today if I'm the one.
Yeah, I might have to. No guests, but just
no
a good
guests,
heat. Just good heat coming to Jake's way. That's for sure.
I didn't say it. So yeah, I guess let's touch on these NHL playoffs, perhaps. Round one already completed. The normal stuff happened. The Leafs blew it. And the teams that probably should have gone on moved on. What were your opinions on round one first, Mark? I just want to hear your opinions about round one.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I've always said and heard this, that first round of NHL playoffs, there's nothing like it. It's intense. It's fierce. I thought it was a little lackluster this last 2 weeks, to be honest, compared to years in the past where that first round is it's explosive. There's 7 games everywhere. There's a lot of stuff going on. I thought this year, maybe for whatever reason, just the playoff format, the good teams playing each other right away. The season might be a little long. I don't know. Obviously, the owners will never say that because there's money to be made with 80 games and blah, blah, blah. But could be some fatigue there with some of the guys. They're not as what have you. I don't know. I mean, I'm not here to say. But thought the Canucks weathered the storm well and did what they had to do with rotating 3 goalies in and winning greasy games on the road. Edmonton seemed to have a pretty easy job there with LA, who left a little bit to be desired. Colorado looks like a wagon again, and Dallas hard fought series on the West. So I think we're going to get some good stuff coming up on that side. And then obviously the Eastern side, Rangers, Carolina meeting right away. That's tight. And now Boston, Florida. So it's always good to see the Leafs lose. And it was good. And hopefully the second round's better.
Real shame we don't have our friend of the show on the podcast today.
Yeah, we'll bring Jeff back. I think he's a little down in the dumps right now. And I think he's headed over to Italy in a couple of weeks to watch the F1 race. So maybe we'll get him on after the F1 race. Maybe he'll be a little bit more.
Get Jeff on and explain why do the Leafs need to trade Mitch Marner. Anyway, let's talk about round two. You mentioned, and I was looking at this, and it's basically 1 versus 2 in each division outside the Colorado-Dallas series. But let's be honest, I think Colorado is pretty much a 2.
Yeah.
If not for Winnipeg having a pretty good year. Let's start with Carolina and New York. You mentioned it already. What do you see in that series? You got the President's Trophy winners in the Rangers with that little curse that is the President's Trophy, and Carolina that, added Gensel in the lineup and are expecting big things.
You got Rod the Bod, right? So when you have Rod the Bod on the bench, you got a fighting chance every time. They play such a fast game. Their defensive core is good. They can hurt you anyways. And Freddie Anderson, he's doing his job, right? The Rangers highly skilled and a good defensive core. Zibanejad's and Panarin, these guys are top end guys. Kreider, they've been there before. Some of these. I think this goes 7.
Based on game 1 with a 4-3 win for the Rangers, it seemed like this could be a long series. Can't really be said about game 1 between Boston and Florida that went on today. And Boston, I guess, was feeling the high of game 7 beating the Leafs because they just crushed Florida, which has looked unbeatable.
Well, I missed that. My little guy had soccer, so I was at soccer today.
Sorry,
I saw the score lines, and I would maybe, if I had to guess, again, not seeing the game, chalk it up to the long layoff, Florida having a bunch of days off, maybe a little bit over excited. They got a team that they thought might be a little tired and what have you. And then, the emotional letdown bites you in the what, and Boston gets a 5-1 road win.
Yep, sounds about right. I mean, that's pretty much what happened exactly. And getting underway tomorrow is the Colorado-Dallas series. As you mentioned, Dallas, the hard-fought Vegas win over in 7 games there, and Colorado, a pretty easy ride against Winnipeg. Number 1 team in the West going up against a team that won the championship 2 years ago. That should be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that Colorado's like the lower seed. They're just so fast, explosive, and McKinnon, he gallops. It's like he's galloping out there in a desert, like just on the Sahara, like a cheetah, the way he flies around that ice. They're good. They're so good. The goaltending might give them problems. Dallas is so well-rounded too. And they're, I think Dallas might win this in 7. Ottinger is dialed.
Yep.
I like the moves they made, and they got some veteran horses in there. I think that can play a little, mucky and grimy to slow McKinnon down and make sure Makar isn't getting his free passes up and down the ice. And that might be might be a battle that they have to win the long game instead of trying to win games, win it in 4 or 5 or what have you.
Chris Tanev, back end of Dallas there, and that trade from Calgary. He's a pretty good shutdown defenseman that could help out.
Yeah, and anytime you have a guy that's named Rope, like that's a quality name. Rope Hintz, like
he's a good player,
and he's a good player. So when you can back it up, being a good player, and your name's Rope, like that's good. That's good. I like that.
Fair enough. Now the big one that I think Canada's pretty interested in, the 2 Canadian all-Canadian series. Jake, I guess feel free to unmute yourself on this one. You probably have opinions.
Don't worry, I will.
It should be good. I mean, I'll say this. Obviously, I think the Canucks can get this in 7. I don't think it's going to be like the ESPN panel was like 99% on the Oilers. The Oilers are still, I think, I read FanDuel had them at +3. They're the highest odds to win the Cup, more than Carolina or Dallas or Colorado. And I'm shaking my head because I just don't know that they should be. And maybe they are slightly favored because obviously McDavid and Draisaitl are who they are. And they are him, as I think my son uses that term now. So I get it. I'm by no means going to say the Canucks are the favorite. I would say, though, it's kind of a 50-50. And I think, what's his name? Knobloch, that's the new coach. Obviously, he's done a great job since he's taken over for Woody. But he even said it the other day, is like, what are the chances of our power play going 100% again? Like, okay. And everybody's making a big deal of this. Wow, don't take penalties. Well, eventually I get it. And I just think you gotta see how the first couple of games goes. And obviously the dynamic duo, you're gonna have to figure out how to shut them down. I mean, that's just the way it's gonna work. And can Hughes figure out how not to get hit in the playoffs? Because that might be a big thing as well, because he took a lot of bumps last series.
Well, I mean, if you look at game 5 and 6, I don't think they got a hit on him. He
tweaked a bit.
He figured it out. But in regards to Edmonton, Draisaitl's playoff Draisaitl right now. I think he's been the best player in Edmonton thus far.
It's German engineering.
But other than that, yeah, Connor McDavid and that offense is really good. My solace here as a Canucks fan, and what I think could happen, what would be the issue for Edmonton, is I think UC Saros is a better goaltender than Skinner. You can fight me on that all you want. I think it's true. The defenses are different. I'm not saying Edmonton's defense is bad, but Nashville's is more of a shutdown defense as opposed to offensive defense. I would consider Edmonton. That's where I think the Canucks can do it. However, if Pettersson doesn't figure his shit out, it's going to be a tough series. And I've talked to Yannick Hansen. He said he looks timid, and the only way you figure it out is if you play in the playoffs more than once. So anyway,
I don't know, Jakey, what's the Edmonton vibe? You got family there, brothers there. What do you got over there?
My brother is a Ducks fan, so whatever he says doesn't count. But my mom and I have been following like this team for years. My family and I, we went through the decade of darkness. We went through, the heartbreak of 2006 and, the 9 years it took to finally get a first overall pick right. And then then 2 years later, finally making the playoffs again in 2017.
Yeah.
To me, watching this Oilers team, this feels like the closest this team is going to get to actually winning the Stanley Cup. Everything that, Ken Holland got a lot of shit for the moves that he made, and his draft pedigree is not great, especially in the salary cap era. But you look at the trades he's made over the last few years. We needed to upgrade defense. Okay, here's Matthias Ekholm. You need depth scoring, and you need, depth toughness. Okay, here's Adam Henrique this year. Here's Sam Carrick. Here's Corey Perry, who has found money. Here's Evander Kane, who has found money. I mean, outside of the goaltending, which I think every team that's needed a goaltender didn't find one. LA needed a goaltender. They weren't able to find one. Well, they have Phoenix Copley, but he got hurt.
Yep.
You look out in the East with teams like Ottawa and Buffalo, the teams that didn't make the playoffs because they needed goaltending. They weren't able to find goaltending. You even look at Toronto. Toronto needed goaltending, and they couldn't find it. So, goaltending is always going to be the one thing with the Oilers that you're going to worry about, and obviously that second pairing on defense. But they've shown that they can play a better game. And I think the difference between, last year's team that got knocked out by Vegas and this year's team is the fact that the whole team is willing to play a full 200 feet. You don't have guys who are sitting at the red. You don't have guys sitting at the red line anymore, waiting for the pass, waiting for the breakout, like you did last year. Draisaitl was arguably my favorite player on the team. He was the fucking worst for it. He did not back check. but now you watch him this year, he is back checking. The one thing I will say going into this series is I've heard a lot about how, the Canucks hold a 4-0 record against the Oilers this year.
That's garbage. That's bullshit.
It's garbage.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys get that. The first 3 games of the season were under Jay Woodcroft.
Yeah. I'll take the last
6 months
game.
ago.
The last game, maybe a little bit, but I'm not like saying this is good.
No, I think you throw those games out the window anyway.
You got to throw those ones out because that was under Jay Woodcroft. And then the last game, you don't have Connor McDavid playing.
Yeah. You have Casey DeSmith playing.
Yeah, you have Casey DeSmith playing in the playoffs. Or is he still hurt?
Shilov's the Latvian legend.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. I think you throw those games out the window. I think Edmonton, obviously with the star power and that dynamic, 1-2 punch. Again, it's even more magnified right now because Pettersson has really looked like invisible. Yeah, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I mean, I would like this. Oh, you would like to hope there's something there, because if you're paying that guy that much money and he's just performing like that, that's a big moment. He's not a rookie. He's not first year in the league, second year in the league. This is year what? 4?
Yeah.
Year 4 for Pettersson?
5.
5? I mean, you have. It's no different than Marner and Matthews and what have you. Like, if you're gonna get paid the big bucks and you're gonna walk into the rink with the fancy clothes and the earrings and the $11 million, then you better fucking show up. That's just the way it works. I mean, it's the NHL, right? This is how things work, and that whole regular season stuff, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And this is when you solidify your career and your legacy as a player. Doesn't matter what market you're in. It's in the playoffs. That's where it counts.
My 1 point to Pettersson, and I'm fully on the bandwagon. He's been terrible, but we're going to really try and dig and find something that will change this. Go back to 2011. Ryan Kessler had no points in the Chicago series, and then he was the most dominant player in round 2 against Nashville.
Wow, you're digging. I like it.
If there's any history here, maybe Pettersson pulls one of those.
You're finding the facts. I like it, Nick. I like it. That's good stuff.
The thing I'll say the thing that's going to be toughest on Vancouver in this series is the fact that Edmonton has been playing a much more physical game than Nashville showed. Nashville's a good team. They're a good shutdown team. But if you have guys who are getting hit in that Nashville series and getting hurt, like Hughes, who's skating around like he's taking a few too many hits, you got to worry about guys on Edmonton, because you now have guys like Evander Kane, Sam Carrick, Vinny Desharnais, Matthias Ekholm. Like and that's not even all of them either. So, and you got guys like McDavid's throwing hits, Draisaitl's throwing hits.
We got Big Z though. I think Big Z's the X factor. We got Big Z flying around there.
Big Z wasn't able to do anything in 2022 in Calgary, so
he's my favorite. Big Z. He's got the good suits. He's backing it up. Big Z's the man.
Yeah, I'm not overly optimistic, but I think there is a way the Canucks can win this series. Like, I'm not convinced they can win, and I'm not convinced they won't win. I'm just kind of like, there's a chance. I think they got this. But
okay, we got 2 minutes left. Series predictions for this one.
Oh, come on.
I said Canucks in 7.
Oh,
I'm sticking with it.
I hate choosing when my team plays. I hate doing it because it's like, now I feel like shit both ways. But my gut says like Oilers in 6, but my heart says Canucks in 7.
That's fair.
Right.
I'm saying Oilers in 6, but I'm saying Vancouver wins game 1.
Oh, okay.
I say Vancouver wins game 1. Edmonton picks up games 2 and 3. And then Vancouver wins 4 and Edmonton picks up the last 2. That's the way I see it.
All right. I like it. Okay.
All here. Come back at us, and we'll have to record a round 3 episode.
You bet.
Honestly, I have no idea when we're going to be doing this again. I couldn't tell you. You guys would probably have more information when we're doing this again than I do. But maybe we can do this again soon.
We will. We'll definitely do it.
Yeah. 100%.
There we go. Well, that's Rise and Red, the SFU Hockey Podcast, presented by Scott's Hockey Shop and Shoppy's Meat Market. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again real soon, I think.
You comfy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good? All right.
I got my Mets hat on today, so we're good.
Attaboy. I got the Jays hat on today.
Are you a Mets fan?
Oh, yeah.
That's
I wouldn't
just
have guessed that,
sad
honestly.
just for so many years.
Oh, come on. World Series against Kansas City.
You haven't been good since like Mike Piazza in 2001.
Well, they made the World Series with the Dark Knight.
Oh, 2015.
Yeah.
That's right. The Mets made that weird run and then got crushed by Eric Hosmer and the Royals. That's right.
The Royals, yeah.
Or you like
I couldn't be that mad. I was never like the Royals don't really bug me that much. So
I played on a team called the Royals way back when.
yeah, I was in my senior year. No, my junior year at Plattsburgh was a Subway Series. So tons of Yankee fans up at Plattsburgh and a bunch of Met fans. So yeah.
Fair enough. Still sad for many, many, many years.
Yeah, you're right. And now we got the richest owner in the world, so we're good.
And still spending all the money. Look, I'm a Mariners fan. I got really nothing to say. I like
the Mariners.
All you want. So like, what does it matter? Like we aren't affected. Anyway,